Hello, everybody. How are we doing today? This is day 5 of the 30-day Black History lesson. Are you ready? Today, we are going to talk about the Mycelium Highway and the Southern Anchor, the coastal migration, global grids, and the Trinidad Gateway. 315,000 years ago to present. The premise human migration was not random wandering, it was a planned expansion along a sophisticated bioelectric network, the Mycelium Highway. So, mycelium, trees, plants, right? That network is called the Mycelium Highway. Okay. Timeline, origin, Jebel Irhoud. 315,000 years ago, established permanent grid nodes 100,000 years ago. The focus zooming in on the anchor node of the Southern Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago, a geological battery and cultural gateway linking Africa, the Caribbean, and South America. Yeah, yeah. Yes. So, what we need to get at now is what is mycelium? What's the structure, the function, and the electrical properties of mycelium? Modern science validation, bioelectrical signaling, right? How mycelium follows water and minerals and ley line mapping, right? Mycelium is mushrooms, fruiting bodies as navigation markers, bioluminescent fungi as nighttime wayfinding, animal tracking, following game equals following mycelium equals following grid pathways. So that's the way our ancestors did it in Trinidad, Jamaica, and all these different places all around the globe. They understood mycelium, right? The coastal route strategy. Why coastlines? Well, that's where we find food, abundance, navigation, simplicity, mycelium density. We find shellfish, fish, seaweed, which equals brain development and nutrition. Stars plus horizons equals latitude tracking. Coastal currents equals natural highways. Electromagnetic properties, saltwater conductivity, and tidal electromagnetic pulses, right? So basically, what's that saying is that the coastal routes, this is why we built along the coastal routes as indigenous people, melanated people all over the world. We always built around the coast, right? Because that's where you'll find all of these things, food. You'll find your settling where you're going to settle, right? Natural coastal currents, highways, and you find saltwater conductivity, right? Electromagnetic properties in the water, right? So the four great routes out of Africa. So you have Route One, which is the Middle East to Asia route, right? So that's Morocco, the Mediterranean, Levant, Persian Gulf, Indian Ocean, Southeast Asia. Then you have, and it's evident. The evidence would be, what would the evidence for that region be? The school Hafez in Israel and Jawalapuram in India, and the Tampaling in Laos. Okay, so these things are all 120,000 years, 74,000 years, 86,000 years old. So these grid nodes are Levantine corridor, Persian Gulf now underwater, Sunderland now underwater. Okay, so then the route two would be Africa to Australia, East Africa, Arabian coast, Indian Ocean, Indonesian Sunderland, Sahul, Australia, New Guinea, and Tasmania. All right. So the evidence is Aboriginal oral traditions, 100,000 years old. Majebi, 65,000 official, likely older, and Lake Mungo, 40,000 years old. Right. So why Aboriginal 100,000 year claims are credible because of songline accuracy, genetic isolation. They've been on their own there for a while, and ocean crossing technology, cultural complexity. So they were able to travel by water, do all those things. I mean, they're trying to not attribute that to melanated populations, but they got to be out of their mind if they think that we were just chilling. We were all over the place. Route 3, the Americas, Atlantic. Trinidad connection begins here. So you have West Africa, which is Nigeria, Ghana, Benin coast. Atlantic currents take you to Trinidad, 7 miles from Venezuela. The Caribbean arc, South America, the Amazon Orinoco, and Central America, North America. So the evidence would be like the Calico Hills in California, 200,000 years old, a bit contested. Pedra Ferrada in Brazil. Luzia, Pedra Ferrada was 50,000. Luzia, 11.5 thousand years ago. And then we have the African morphology proves survivors. Okay. Currents analysis: the Canary, North Equatorial, South Equatorial currents, 15 to 20-day crossing feasible. This is like known fact. Why Trinidad is crucial. Trinidad is the closest Caribbean island to South America. It's the first landfall natural gateway. Hear that? Very, very blessed. Trinidad people are incredible, right? By the way, they have so much history there. There's so much history, like all collapsing into that area. Why Trinidad is crucial. It's the closest Caribbean island to South America. First landfall, natural gateway. And then you have Route 4, Asia to the Americas, Pacific, Southeast Asia, which is Sunderland, Pacific Island, Pacific Island hopping, obviously, to Polynesia, and then South America. Right, so the evidence is the Jomon pottery in Ecuador, sweet potato distribution, Polynesian navigation, star compass, wave piloting, all that. So much evidence. Why Pacific knowledge suggests 50,000 year development? 50,000 years ago. Like, come on, guys. Section 5, the navigation technologies, biological, pineal magnetite, Earth's magnetic field sensing, melanin semiconduction, technology, right? Technology, astronomical, cosmologicals, star navigation, horizon tracking, solstice, equinox markers. So they understood all that. Okay. Environmental, mycelium reading, current, wind patterns, animal migration and tracking. And the tool based technologies, ocean going canoes, 100 feet, documented pre 1492, bamboo rafts, navigation sticks, Marshall Islands wave charts. You know that technology exists. Anyway, so before we move further, right? Again, let's look at the starting point, which is Jebel Irhoud, 315,000 years ago, right? And you see it here, location, Morocco, served as the launch pad due to its dual maritime access, Atlantic and Mediterranean. As you can see here, motivation, expansion was a choice, not a reaction. This was a knowledge accumulation phase where early humans mapped the Earth's system. They didn't just follow animals, they followed the energy signatures of the Earth itself. Our people were extremely intelligent. Melanites were very intelligent. So, yes, the first grid installations were basically 315 to 100,000 years ago with coastal ley lines, copper not yet mined, but pathways mapped via the mycelium, right? So the actual pathways of the electromagnetic grid were already there through mycelium. Sacred site selections, water sources, mycelium density, electromagnetic peaks, right? So anything around water sources, lots of mycelium, lots of trees, lots of grass and weeds and everything else. Stone markers, coastal cairns, now mostly underwater. And knowledge transmission, all traditions begin, navigation routes and star positions and sacred sites. Here we go. All right. And again, we discussed the four great routes of global dispersal. You have the Levantine corridor to Africa, to Asia, via the now submerged Persian Gulf and Sunderland nodes. And then we have the southern coast of Africa to Australia, the Songline route to the whole evidence. Majdebi, 65,000 years ago. I'll have to check up what that is. I didn't even say the word right, but we'll check that up. The Pacific hop to Asia, Americas, island hopping via Polynesia and currents. We know that they were doing a lot of traveling then. The evidence is the Jomon pottery that they found in Ecuador. We'll get into that later too. And the Atlantic conveyor. The Atlantic conveyor is Africa to Americas, direct transmission from West Africa to the Caribbean gateway. Right, so those are so Trinidad. What is special about Trinidad? So Trinidad, the Trinidadians So Trinidad, 7 miles from Venezuela, closest Caribbean island to South America mainland, southern terminus of the Caribbean arc, 2,000-mile island chain from Florida. 2,000-mile island chain from Florida. They're all connected, by the way. Gateway positions: Atlantic, Trinidad, South America interior. Strategic importance for Atlantic crossings: first Caribbean landfall from West Africa. South equatorial current deposits directly at Trinidad. Hello. The resupply point before entering Orinoco River of freshwater food. So it's a resupply point. Right? Navigation confirmation, sight land after 15 to 20-day ocean crossing. For our South American access, you would go through the Orinoco River mouth, 7 miles west, direct access to Venezuelan interior and the Amazon watershed. And then they have the Amazon River system, which equals accessible via Orinoco tributaries. Andean approach equals coastal route south from Trinidad to Guyana to Suriname to Brazil to Peru. Lots of hopping around. For Caribbean network, Southern Relay Station receives from Africa, transmits north to Jamaica, Cuba, and Hispaniola, and then it connects three systems: the Atlantic, African grid, Caribbean, Island Relay, and the South American continental grid. Okay, so Trinidad is the gateway node, not peripheral, absolutely central to the entire America's grid operation. Oof! Gives me chills, I gotta tell you. What is the geological and electromagnetic properties? Trinidad's unique geology. Okay, Trinidad is a unique geology. So the geology is this: it has asphalt and pitch lake, largest natural asphalt deposit on the earth in La Brea, Trinidad. 100 acres, 250 plus feet deep. Wow. Hydrocarbon seepage from underground petroleum reserves. Unique geology. The grid significance: hydrocarbons equals organic conductors. Petroleum contains aromatic compounds with mobile electrons. Asphalt surface equals electromagnetic absorber and modulator, carbon based materials. It's a natural capacitor. It stores electromagnetic charge and releases slowly, used by Kemetic Moorish autochthons for waterproofing canoes. Documented pre-Columbian use, but also for electromagnetic applications. Asphalt at grid nodes equals a charged storage. Northern Range Mountains, extension of Venezuelan coastal range, geological continuity with South American mainland. The highest point, Cerro de la Ripo, 940 meters or 3,084 feet. Electromagnetic significance: elevation equals a transmission point, broadcast to the entire southern Caribbean. Metamorphic rock, schist, gneiss equals contains conductive minerals, mica or magnetite, mica and magnetite, or mica or magnetite. Parallel to coast equals amplifies ocean electromagnetic currents. The Caroni Swamp, largest mangrove wetland in Trinidad, 12,000 acres. Wow! Grid significance. Why is it significant in the grid? Saltwater and freshwater mixing equals maximum ionic conductivity. Another significance: organic matter decomposition equals, or it releases minerals, enhanced conductivity. Bird migration stops. So the scarlet ibis, 100 plus species equals animals sense the electromagnetic node. Proof of field presence. I'm telling you, boy, Trinidad is brilliant. Mycelium density equals wetlands equals highest fungal network concentration. Wow. Right, and then we have the dual coastlines: North Coast, Atlantic, rugged, high energy waves, constant electromagnetic stimulation from wave actions. On the West Coast, the Gulf of Paria, calm, sheltered, ideal harbor for maritime operations. And the grid function: dual electromagnetic environments, high frequency Atlantic plus low frequency Gulf equals full spectrum coverage. It is an energy zone like no other. Wow. So, the original populations. Who were the Trinidadians? Pre 1492 populations, the earliest inhabitants 10,000 years ago, possibly 30. Unknown name. Later populations called them the Old Ones. You can't make this shit up. Can't make it up. The evidence. Banwari Trace, oldest archaeological site, 7,000 officially, likely far older. Stone tools, shell middens, burial sites, African morphology. If skulls tested, would likely show Kemetic Moorish features like Lucia, grid roll. First Atlantic crossing survivors established Trinidad as gateway node. Hear that? The Ortoroid people, 5,000 to 2,000 years, named by archaeologists from type site Ortori, Trinidad. Ortor, I don't know how to say that, but I'll find out. Hunter gatherers with sophisticated maritime technology. That was our role. Okay. Evidence: conch shells, tools, sophisticated fishing, and ocean going canoes. Our grid roll there: maintain coastal navigation networks and mycelium knowledge. The Saladoid people, 2,500 to 1,000, migrated from the Orinoco River in Venezuela, brought agriculture, cassava, maize, pottery, white on red designs. Evidence: ceramic technology and agricultural tools. The grid roll: river to island relay operators, Orinoco, Trinidad, Caribbean. The Kalingo, the Kalinago, Island Caribs, and Taino. Okay, the Island Caribs of Taino. So, what they about? The Kalinago migrated from South America, Carib linguistic family, warrior reputation defended against later invasions, maritime experts, long distance canoe travel, Taino influence, lesser degree than Jamaica, Cuba, Hispaniola, but present. Cultural exchange, pottery, styles, agricultural techniques, trade networks, guanin, alloy found in Trinidad equals or proves Caribbean wide connection. Same thing in Jamaica, right? Pre 1492, Trinidad population 30 to 40,000. Conservative estimate: all populations equals Kemetic Moorish autochthons ancestry, African origins, Atlantic crossing, South American arrival, Trinidad settlement over 10 to 30,000 years. The Moorish African connection, direct lineage, West African origins, the source populations: Nigeria, Benin, Ghana coast, Bight of Benin, Blight of Biafra region, ancient Kemetic Moorish populations pre 1492, Yoruba, Nigeria, Ife, oil kingdoms, Kemetic Moorish descendants maintaining astronomical knowledge, metallurgy, bronze casting, and urban planning. Edo, Benin Kingdom, master metalworkers, urban civilization. Benin city walls equals largest earthwork in the world before colonial destruction. Akan, Ghana, gold trade, geometric knowledge, Adrinka symbols, sacred geometry. Igbo, Nigeria, decentralized governance, metallurgy, cosmological knowledge, all carrying guanin metallurgical knowledge, same alloy formula as the Caribbean, astronomical observation, same stellar tracking as grid nodes globally, plant medicine, consciousness expansion protocols, oral tradition chains, 100,000 plus year knowledge from Kemetic origins. Wow, this is incredible, actually. Now, the Atlantic connection. South equatorial current flows from West African coast, Nigeria, Ghana, Benin, directly to Trinidad, South American coast. Predictable, reliable, 15 to 20-day crossing with prevailing winds. Documented historically. Enslaved Africans who escaped from ships, reported currents carrying them to Trinidad and South America. Like, hello. Evidence of pre Columbian contact, the guanin alloy. Your guanin, identical formula. Trinidad, Caribbean equals West African. 84% copper, 8% gold, 8% silver. Hello. Same name, guanin, not Spanish, not English. It's a Taino word, but formula from Africa. You understand? The grid significance: electromagnetic conductor alloy developed over millennia, transmitted across the Atlantic. The botanical evidence: trees, bottles. The bottle gourd, Langeria Sicaria, African origin, found in the Americas 10,000 years ago. Genetic analysis confirms African lineage, not Asian via Beringia. So, again, the Beringia story, across the Bering Strait crossing, is a contemptuous thing in Black history because of the fact that the Beringia crossing happened a little bit later than they're telling, and they're mixing up. They're getting the dates wrong because they don't want to see Pedra Ferrada as a 50,000 year marker that melanated populations were in the Americas long ago. So they're trying to make the Beringia and shove it into a narrative that doesn't make sense. That's why they keep getting stuck. They don't realize that the original melanated people of the Americas had been there from millennia. Long, long time, man. Long, long time. But they're trying to act like it didn't happen that way. This was pre flood. After the flood, we were still there. And yeah, Pedro Ferrada and all these different places prove that the existence of melanated people in this region long, long, long time ago. So don't let them fool you. I don't know. Anyway, botanical evidence continues. African rice, Oryzia glaberrima, possibly pre-Columbian presence, disrupted, but rice cultivation patterns are suspicious. Kola nut traditions, Yoruba, Akan, kola nut, ceremonial use equals similar to Taino, Kalinago, and ceremonial practices, consciousness stimulant use. Linguistic traces, Carib languages, Kalinago, some phonetic, grammatical similarities to West African Niger Congo family, disputed by mainstream, but patterns exist. Astronomical terminology, stars named in Carib languages, phonetically similar to Yoruba, Akan star names, requires systemic comparison. Cultural practices, ancestor veneration, Taino, semi worship equals parallel to Yoruba, Orisha, and Yakan, Nasamafo, ancestor spirits. Drumming and dancing, Kalinago rhythm patterns equals similar to Yoruba Dundun. Akan Kite drumming, frequency ranges 7 to 10 hertz, human overlap. Divination systems, shell divination, Taino, similar to Yoruba, Dilogun, cowrie shell reading. Grid analysis, these aren't coincidental similarities, these are continuous knowledge transmissions across the Atlantic via transoceanic travel pre 1492 over a millennia. Shared Kemetic Moorish origin, all descended from the same 350,000 year civilization. Grid network maintenance, Trinidad equals relay node requiring regular contact with African anchor nodes. There we go. So as we've already reviewed, right? We have the Tier 4 operators, the indigenous stewards 30,000 years ago, the old ones, original navigators who followed the currents. This was 30,000 years ago. So people, I have friends that are trying to say that there was no African Caribbean connection. They're so dumb. No America connection to Africa. I'm honestly like, you give yourself a slap, please. Okay, you can look at the slide here. We see 7,000 years ago. We have the Banwari Trace, right? Oldest archaeological site in the Caribbean. Crazy, right? And then we have the Ortoroid and Saladoid developed maritime technology and river to island relays, right? So we were already traveling and doing what we got to do. And then in 1492, they have the Kalinago and Taino, the populations present in 1492. These groups did not just live here, they maintained the gateway. They mapped the coastal ley lines and preserved the knowledge of the Mycelium network. So, as we noted yesterday with Jamaica, right, the African connection to this continuity of knowledge, the smoking gun is the guanin. Like you guys, honestly, you cannot look at this region in the Caribbean, Trinidad, Jamaica, all these places. You can't look at it without looking at the guanin. It is directly from West Africa. It's not. It's not even. It's not even a yes or it's not even a maybe. It's a yes, right? It's a specific metallurgical formula found in both West Africa and the Caribbean pre 1492, right? So That's just telling you, right? Enslaved Africans, Yoruba, Edo, Akan, arriving in Trinidad found a familiar grid, surviving indigenous kin, and a landscape that responded to their specific spiritual technologies, Orisha and Shango. Listen, it's all one system, you guys. Like, stop trying to like break it up and you're thinking you're this and you're that and the other. You're all one people. You all do the same things. Your knowledge systems are all the same. Stop separating. That is how they conquered you. They separated you by calling you different things. Okay, so as we move forward, we have the second African wave. So there was two. You understand? That's why, like, for people to say that the connection, there was no connection between Africa and the Caribbean and the Americas, you guys are just honestly, you're on crack. Stop smoking it. Anyway, the second wave, Spanish colonization, 1498 and onwards. Columbus discovered Trinidad in 1498, found 30 to 40,000 Kalinago Taino people. Spanish settlement, minimal initially. Trinidad less attractive than the gold rich islands. Indigenous population collapse, 30 to 40,000 in 1498 to 1,000 in the 1700s equals 97% mortality, disease, and slavery and genocide. African enslavement, 1783 to 1838. British take control in 1797. Massive sugar plantation expansion. 1783, cedula of population equals open immigration incentivized. Enslaved Africans brought in huge numbers. In 1783, 300 enslaved Africans, 1797, 10,000, and in 1838, emancipation, 20,000. Source regions, same as the original Atlantic crossings: Nigeria, Ghana, Benin, Yoruba, Igbo, Akan, Edo, West Coast. The reunion, enslaved West Africans arrived to find surviving Kalinago Taino populations mixed with Spanish and French settlers, but some pure lineages. Shared cultural memory, drumming, ancestor worship, plant medicine, grid knowledge, degraded but present. Same geographic node. Trinidad equals a gateway position and it is still an electromagnetic anchor. By 1783, Orisha Shango worship was a Yoruba religious system brought by enslaved Nigerians, maintained in Trinidad even after Christianization attempts to merge with the surviving Taino Kalingo spiritual practices of Catholicism surface and the Congo Akan traditions. Grid function. Orisha ceremonies involve drumming at the Schumann frequency, possession, trance, pineal activation, plant medicine, consciousness expansion, peyote, all these different plants, and ayahuasca, and all these different things. I'm not sure what they have in Trinidad, but it's the same grid interface protocols as pre 1492. It's the same. So the second wave had the same practices, a little bit changed, but pretty much the same. Then you have the spiritual Baptist, the Shouter Baptist, Afro-Caribbean Christian synthesis, 1800s development, and it incorporates African drumming, possession, trance, water baptism, river immersion. I've never heard that one before. Equals electromagnetic conductor contact, bell ringing, frequency generation. Grid function maintains electromagnetic interface through Christian framework. Colonizers couldn't suppress it if it looked Christian. Get it? Now you get it. Carnival, pre-Lenten festival, official Catholic timing. Actually, African masquerade tradition. Yoruba, Egungun, Igbo, and Wamunmu. Kalinago, Taino, ceremonial dance. It's all the same. Grid function. Mass drumming. Steel pan evolved from African drum band. Created new frequency instrument. Synchronized movement, thousands dancing equals collective electromagnetic field generation. The costumes, the mask, Egungun tradition equals ancestors return through masquerade. Electromagnetic imprint channeling. Calypso music developed in Trinidad, nowhere else. Why? West African griot storytelling and Kalinago oral traditions and French patois. Get it? The rhythm is 7 to 12. Schumann. Grid functions, maintains oral tradition transmission, news, history, social commentary, and frequency synchronization. So before we move forward with the wave from India the Indian arrival, and the frequency tuning. We just want to make sure that you understand that the Yoruba Trinidadian phonetic rhythmic connection is very important, right? So Yoruba's core linguistic features, the core linguistic features of Yoruba are tonal language with three level tones and two or three contour tones, with every syllable having at least one tone. So kind of like Machu Picchu, Ticket Machu Picchu, right? So Yoruba has three tones, high, mid, and low, and these tones are phonemic because they bring about a change in meaning, making correct pronunciation extremely important for communicating accurate meaning. It's ancient wisdom, by the way. The rhythm component, the Yoruba talking drums, known as the dundun, can mimic the tonal patterns of the Yoruba language, allowing drummers to speak through their instruments. That's how we used to communicate back in the day, by the way. This is the key. Yoruba language is rhythm, is music, is frequency itself. So that influence in Trinidad language or Trinidadian language is documented Yoruba words in Trinidadian vocabulary are susu, from the Yoruba word meaning esusu, good god horse, praying mantis as a direct translation of the Yoruba word, and akra, fried saltfish fritter, from Yoruba word akar. Patois is a contact language born from speakers of the 17th to 18th century Norman French meeting speakers of EU, Igbo, Twi, Wolof, Yoruba, and some 15 other West African languages. African languages such as Kunubu and Yoruba contributed to Trinidadian Patois vocabulary, and some African words like Accra, Baton, Ilele, Bele, Big Belly, Dundun, Chak Chak, and Sukunya came to Trinidad English and English Creole via patois. The tonal rhythmic substrate. Here's where it gets extraordinary. Yoruba's tonal system is three level tones, high, mid, and low. When teaching Yoruba literacy, solfege means names of musical notes are used as low is do, mid is re, and high is mi. Do, re, mi. Aha! You get it? Trinidad Creole English lost systematic tone, possibly due to the influence from Pushpuri and other non-tonal languages like Portuguese and English, but the rhythmic substrate remained Trini. What this means, although Trinidad Creole English is not technically a tonal language like Yoruba, where pitch changes meaning, the rhythmic patterns, intonations, contours, and musical quality are preserved. So, without getting too technical, when you listen to Yoruba, you're listening to Trinidad. Okay, you could hear it in the music, right? Yoruba languages tend to they flow, and Trinidad is the same. So it all works in the same way. These people have been connected for a very long time. Africa, Caribbean, Americas, it's all the same people. Stop playing with me. All right, so let me look at the unique Trinidadian tunes. Okay, Sukunya. A vampire like spirit sheds skin at night, becomes a ball of fire. My parents used to talk about that one when I was a kid. Grid translation, ball lightning, electromagnetic phenomenon, same as Jamaican rolling calf. Sightings cluster near swamps, asphalt deposits, and electromagnetic hotspots. Lagao, shape shifting creature, chains around body. Grid translation, electromagnetic discharge with auditory crackling. Chains equals sound interpretation. Same electromagnetic phenomenon as the rolling calf, different cultural interpretation. The Duyen, spirit children with backwards feet lead people astray. Good translation. Disorientation at electromagnetic nodes. Pineal disruption causes directional confusion. Backwards feet is going in the wrong direction equals electromagnetic field interference with navigation. I'm telling you, man. It's not superstition, it's based upon real things, okay? The Papaboy, forest guardian spirit. Grid translation. personification of force electromagnetic properties, mycelium networks, tree bioelectric fields. Warning against disrupting electromagnetic nodes. Papa Bwai punishes those who harm the forest, which equals disrupting grid conductors. Yo, man, this is like serious stuff, right? So, Trinidad and Jamaica, they share these, they say the same position, right? Caribbean Center Relay. They share geology, the limestone, they're Taino, West African, Yoruba, they have the mixes, Chinese 5,000, Indian 36,000, and music, reggae, Nyabingi, like language, Patois, Taino, African, Irish, phonetics. A lot of the same, both are essential and neither is better. Jamaica equals the central nervous system, it coordinates the network, and Trinidad equals the gateway, it connects Atlantic to the continent, and laboratory innovates under pressure. The ring tier framework, day 5, is revised. Let's have a look. So again, when they band the drums, we made the steel pan. Even louder, I think. And even more electromagnetic. What a brilliant race of people. We didn't just replace the drum, we built a stronger generator. Unbelievable. So again, yes, Jamaica is the hub, Trinidad the anchor, roles, central nervous system relay, and Trinidad the gateway connector to the continent. Geology, the limestone, the crystal piezoelectric, right? In Trinidad, we have asphalt, heavy metal capacitor, right? And the technology, Nyabingi drums, the heartbeat, the sync, and then in Trinidad, we have the steel pan, SOCA high energy industrial synthesis. Both are essential components of the same grid. One coordinates, the other connects and powers. Brilliant. Yes, so here we look at the ring grid tier framework. The Trinidad node, tier 1, is a hardware. Southern anchor, pitch lake, capacitor, right? You see it there. Tier 1, the southern anchor, pitch lake, capacitor, northern range transmitter, south equatorial current input. All right, so you can see at the top, the northern range is a transmitter. You have the indigenous and African and Indian combination of cultures there. Brilliant. The triple synthesis is the indigenous, the navigation, and the African, which is the frequency and the guanin, and the Indian internal tuning. Lovely. All three working together in harmony to protect the electromagnetic grid. Brilliance. Well, people, that is the continuation and conclusion of today's lesson, day 5. This is about the mycelium pathway and Trinidad and Tobago. All right, so we did Jamaica yesterday. Today we did Trinidad and Tobago. I am a Trini to the bone. Not really to the bone, but pretty close to it. Anyway, um, I love our cultures, Jamaican, Trinidad, all of them. Grenada, Beige, all. Okay? I love our cultures in the Caribbean, and it connects so much to the African continent that is ridiculous that some of you don't think that the African continent is connected to the Americas and the Caribbean. You are out of your mind. It is so connected. It's not even a question that they're so connected. I hope some of y'all come and see my day 5 so you can have a look at this and my day 4, right? Because it has a lot of information for people that might want to learn about themselves. All right. I hope you're enjoying the day 30, the 30-day Black History lessons that I'm giving here. I know that I am not. I know I'm reading a lot of it off of my after my grid notes and stuff like that, and I'm doing this as a first time, right? So please forgive me if it doesn't seem coherent to you. But if you actually research the information that I'm talking about, you will find a lot of reference material for you to learn about yourself, your history, your past. But yes, here we are, learning, growing, and I'm learning and growing how to present and do all this kind of stuff. So eventually, I would like to do a TED talk on all of this and I'm not quite sure how to put it all together because it's a lot of information. All right. Anyway, hope you enjoy your day. Have a great day. Today is what, February 6th, right? So tomorrow we're doing day 6. I'm a day behind because I wanted to make sure that my information was correct and checked. If you find any information that's not correct or checked, put it in the comments. Tell me what you think, and I will make sure that you get the information that you need. Just ask me any questions you want. I will give you the answer. My ring grid framework is irrefutable. It is really good. I won't tell you how I got it together, how I built it, because that's a secret. But I will give you all the information from it. All right? Take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful day.